expansion for Hearthstone Festival of Legends. The 11 greatest musicians across Azeroth are gathering to put on the biggest music festival in history. Each class represents a genre of music. Launches April, 145 new cards. We'll start with the main guy of this expansion. ETC Band Manager, he's the guy putting this entire show together. 4 mana 4/4. While building your deck, assemble a band of 3 cards, Battlecry, Discover 1. This card, available immediately to everyone who logs on to Hearthstone. So ETC, during the deck building, you get to choose 3 of the cards that ETC will show when you play it, and then you'll discover it. In that sense, I think of ETC Band Manager as very similar to Zephrys. As a note, if you put in a good card into ETC Band Manager, one that you wanted to run in your deck, then you will not be able to run 2 copies of it in your deck, but that might be okay for really specific big cards. I see this as a control card mainly, because aggro tempo decks can't spend the time to play the 4 mana 4/4. Battlecry, get a good card. Control card decks, though, if they find the perfect card could be really, really good. It could be a board clear, it could be a single target big removal, it could be a win condition. If you've ever felt the need to be like, man, I want to put in this incredibly niche card into my deck to counter X card in case I match into that deck, that's the card that you can put into ETC Band Manager as one of 3 options. Endless imaginative possibilities here. So the main cards revealed are from 4 of the classes, or 4 bands. Each of the bands is going to have a legendary musician as well as a legendary spell. So we're going to kick things off into high gear with the Death Knight legendary spell. 10 mana, Rainbow Rune requirement. Climactic Necrotic Explosion. Lifesteal, deal 5 damage, summon 2 1/1 souls, randomly improved by corpses you've spent. The way that this card is improved by corpses you've spent is every time you spend a corpse, this card will randomly choose one of those numbers there. Could be the damage, could be the number of souls it summons, it could be the attack of the soul, it could be the health of the soul. So on average, if you've spent 8 corpses, you're going to deal 7 damage, summon 4 3/3 souls. That's on average. It could be as extreme as like deal 10 damage, summon 3 2/1 souls. Worth mentioning is this card cannot be discovered, which is good because otherwise like every single Discover a Blood Rune or an Ice Frost Rune could come up with Climactic Necrotic Explosion, and given how big of an effect this is truly representative of a legendary card. Like, you'd build your entire Death Knight deck around exactly this one card in theory if you were to run a Climactic Necrotic Explosion deck. Now, one of my astute viewers in chat had this to say: as it is now, the best corpse spenders are Malignant Horror and Corpse Bride, the former being easily countered, requiring multiple turns, the latter being mediocre at best. That guy's basically right. There's not that many ways to spend corpses as the Blood, Frost, Unholy deck. But we have the entire expansion to look for new cards. Now, it was mentioned that for each expansion, the Death Knight cards were going to have to focus on a particular type of rune, because if you only printed a few of each rune in each expansion, you wouldn't move the needle much. But if you printed like multiple blood cards, then you could actually make a new deck for the blood archetype. And I think that the cards revealed indicate that blood is the focus of the Death Knights here. Now, obviously not all the cards will be blood, but we're seeing a lot of blood cards. A new archetype for the Blood Death Knight. I'll start with Screaming Banshee. 5 mana, 1 blood rune, 3/6 undead. Lifesteal. After your hero gains health, summon a soul with that much attack and health. Blood Death Knights do change their health a good amount. Sometimes they gain it, sometimes they use their weapons and swing at stuff and then lose health. So Screaming Banshee can certainly summon some great big cards if you've pre-set up some sort of condition where you're going to gain health. If you play Vampiric Blood, then Screaming Banshee, 7 mana, you get the 3/6 Screaming Banshee, and you get 2 5/5s with it. Sweet. You've got a music weapon here. That's another one of the mechanics of the set. You're going to expect to see a lot of instruments in a variety of classes. This one's the Death Knights. 3 mana, 1 Blood Rune requirement, 3/2. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 lifesteal undead. Change your health on your turn while equipped to improve. So, with enough health changing, you could summon quite the big lifesteal undead, which you could then attack the opponent, gain a bunch of health, and then, well, have played the Screaming Banshee, and then summon another huge guy. Will this be the new archetype for Death Knight? And then you've also got 3 mana, 1 Blood Rune, Harmonic Metal. This is also a new mechanic of the set, which is a throwback to Witchwood with the cards with 2 different modes that flip around. Harmonic Metal starts off as give 4 random minions in your hand +2/+2, swaps each turn. Every other turn, it'll swap to 2 random minions in your hand +4/+4, and then swap back and then swap forward. So if you have this in your opening hand, it'll swap on turn 2 and then swap back on turn 3 to, again, the give 4 random minions in your hand +2/+2. So that means the baseline for this card, the baseline for this card is usually going to be the 4+2/+2, rewarding buffing multiple cards. 3 mana for 8/8 buff is pretty good value. Druid is bringing the hippie music. Peaceful Piper, 1 mana 1/1, choose 1, draw a beast, or discover 1. That's a really strong card, especially with the added information that they did note. Druid is going to get many good beasts in this expansion. Druid with the rotation is probably going to radically change, with the removal of Guff, for example. So I'm looking forward to how this beast Druid is going to look, and I'm pretty certain that Peaceful Piper is going to be playing a part in this deck. Priest, bringing the pop songs. Here's the musician, the legendary musician for Priest. Heartbreaker Hadanis. 4 mana 4/8. Battlecry, deal 4 damage to this minion. So starts off as a 4/4/4. Overheal, deal 5 damage to random enemy. Overheal, a new class mechanic where whenever you would bring this card to above its maximum HP, you get the overheal effect, which in this case deals 5 damage to a random enemy. This certainly looks like the start of some sort of sick combo deck, or perhaps just a bunch of overheal cards together and then a bunch of ways to heal them. That seems like it's an archetype that's probably in the works for Priest. And in order to help that archetype, you've got locations coming back in this set with Fan Club. 1 mana location for Priest, 2 uses, restore 3 health to all friendly characters. I think, needless to say, if Overheal is going to be a good deck in Priest, you're probably going to want Fan Club in it as a way to immediately be able to overheal the cards. Power Chord Synchronize. 2 mana holy spell for Priest. Choose a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. Finale, give both +1, +2. So Finale is another mechanic in this set. When you spend the last of your mana to play this card, a card of Finale, you'll get the Finale bonus. When you get the Finale bonus with Power Chord Synchronize, it's quite powerful because you're getting +2, +4 of stat and a card. Now, it is difficult to know exactly what type of deck this fits in, but presumably some sort of minion-focused deck with buff lovers. Nagas did come out as the first set of the expansion, so Naga Priest could still be a thing, and Power Chord Synchronize could be that card which you buff your Nagas with. Paladin brings the disco with a very exciting legendary spell effect here. We got Starlight Groove, 3 mana holy spell. Give your hero a divine shield for the rest of the game. Playing a holy spell refreshes it. Giving your hero Divine Shields can be pretty useful because whenever you attack with a weapon, you will just pop the Divine Shield, and then you can cast even another holy spell to make yourself have Divine Shield during your opponent's turn. It's a bit early to say whether or not this card has any chance of being good, because for this to be good, you'd want to put it in a control Paladin deck with many holy spells in it. There's probably some sort of meta, some sort of critical mass of holy spells where this card's actually good. But there are going to also be many metas where it's either too slow or too useless. But one thing's for sure, it's gonna annoy your opponent. And I am someone who likes playing control Paladin decks, and I'm someone who likes the idea of annoying the opponent to death as a control deck. That's usually the control deck win condition. The Starlight Groove is that kind of getting a lot of value over time card. Here comes the hip hop with Rogue. Rogue's musical weapon is Recruit Scratcher, 3 mana 2/2, Death Rattle, refresh 1 mana crystal, play combo cards while equipped to improve. So it seems like Rogue's gonna have a set of cards that improve with combo cards or are combo cards. Okay, well let's see how good they are, because there aren't that many combo cards in Rogue right now. Good news, we got a strong one here. Beatboxer, 3 mana 4/3 mech. Combo, deal 4 damage randomly split among all enemies. I don't know, this is a really old throwback, but that's like Goblin Blast Mage. But 1 mana less because it's like years into Hearthstone compared to Goblin Blast Mage, which was a defining card. But instead of having to run random mech, you just have to play a card before Beatboxer. Obviously, really good stats for the cost. Really good effect for the cost. We remain to see how many other good combo cards and or combo lover cards will be coming out for Rogue. Shaman is bringing the jazz, and we got this brass instrument type here. Brass Elemental, 4 mana 3/3 Elemental. Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt, Wind Fury. Solid card, and if Shamans end up wanting Elementals, you could see Brass Elemental be in there. New mechanic, Soloist. Soloists reward you for playing the minion on a blank stage on your side. So, Opera Soloist for Warlock, the classical class. 5 mana 4/6 Demon, Battlecry if you control no other minions. Deal 3 damage to all enemy minions. So clearly this card fits great into a control Warlock type. We're going to have to see if control Warlock looks any good, but if it is, I'm certain Opera Soloist has a place for that. It is +1 mana on Hellfire in order to not deal damage to faces, which is good, in order to not deal damage to your side, which is good, and control decks are the ones that don't have many minions, so you'll play this as a solo card. Very good. Void Virtuoso, 1 mana 1/3 Demon. During your turn, your hero is immune. Well, that's a nice little bonus. You can, of course, just do the simple Void Virtuoso into life tap, but presumably there's going to be ways that you could spend a good amount of health, and for 1 mana, you might save a ton of health. So, sweet card. And the Hipster, 2 mana 1/3, Battlecry, discover a spell from your opponent's class that isn't in their deck. Yeah, only 11 genres of music. What if your favorite genre wasn't listed here? Are you a hipster? Well, Hipster seems like a very solid card if you want to generate cards that are from other people's classes. Rogue, for example, seems like a decent value card as well. Certainly going to be a monster in Arena, but in Constructed, I don't know about adding a 2 mana 1/3 that generates a spell from your opponent's class that isn't in their deck. You know, those are usually the second-rate spells. We got another really strong value card here. Ghost Rider, 5 mana 4/4 Undead. Battlecry, discover a spell. Finale, discover another. So this card is like nearly, or actually I think it's there. It's good enough that it could fit into control type decks, even just as a filler neutral card that doesn't really advance any particular game plan, rather than just giving you good cards, you know. It's good card generation for the cost and decent enough stats for the cost. This card reminds me a lot of Famished Fool, except control decks might really lean towards the Ghost Rider versus the Famished Fool. because there is no restriction or requirement that you have to have some minions die first, which some control decks didn't have. Ghost Rider, you play much more easily, just 5 mana 4/4. Sweet. And the grand finale, the One Amalgam Band, a 7 mana 6/6 all, because it's an amalgam. Battlecry, gain a random bonus effect for each minion type you've played this game. Obviously, it's a really strong card if you play 8 types of minions beforehand. It's kind of questionable to be running that many types of minions to play the One Amalgam Band, I gotta say. But, you know, the payoff is somewhat decent. Now, you don't need all 8 bonus effects for Amalgam Band to be good, but I imagine it's significantly better when you guaranteed roll all of the effects, because there's a select few that you really want, notably the Divine Shield, the Rush, and the Lifesteal. The Reborn's nice too. All the other ones are kind of filler. Note that when you play Amalgams, you only get 1 credit for 1 minion. When you play something like an Undead Dragon, for example, you're only going to get credit for either the Undead or the Dragon. So you don't get 2 credit. You only get 1 credit for each minion type you've played this game. And maximum 1 minion type per minion. So that's your first look at Festival of Legends. See ya!